Okay, family is always give thanks and praises to your creator, wherever you might conceive him or her to be. For me, another beautiful day. Listen, I'm going to drop some information here on this guy called Ron Haynes, very deep brother. Have some very serious information here, and the information is very informative. I know some person can make a comment on the one I posted before about negativity, that the girl is spreading a lot of negativity. But hey, you must understand we live in a world we have negative and positive, up and down, left and right, good and bad. So this is the world we live in. So if you don't want to face the negativity, leave the planet. That's all I can say, because you're gonna have to live with it, because we live in this world which is negative and positive, good and bad, up and down, left and right. This is the reality we live in. So folks, you're gonna have to deal with it. This guy is very informative, and he's spreading strictly love and how we're supposed to live and where we're going to go, where we can activate our DNA and move forward. And do not criticize or condemn no person. Have no judgmental of no person. Do not criticize. Have no judgment. Have no criticism. Nothing like that to any person, regardless of what sexual preference they have. That is their reality. That is their world. Leave them alone and move forward. So don't condemn, don't criticize, don't judgmental, no person, no judgment. Because if you do that, you're going to be stuck in this paradigm. In order for you to elevate to other dimensions and live in love and peace and harmony, you have to let people live their life that they come here to live, and do not have no judgmental criticism about any person. That is their, repeating myself, that is their reality. Let them do what makes them happy. For me, I try my utmost best not to do it. I might try to make a little comment, but as for my knowledge, I just leave it alone. Let them move forward, because, like I said before, that's their reality. So I just said, hey, that's their life. Let it do what makes them happy. And for you, you should do what makes you happy. Don't worry about what other people are doing, because that is their reality. You do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. But keep that smile on your face. You know what I'm saying? So until then, folks, I'm going to put a clip here. I do not own the copyright to this video. This video is for educational purposes only. I do not own the copyrights to this video, but it's very informative, folks. So until then, folks, let's get into it. Let me get a clip here on this here. Bring the volume up, and let me do this for you guys, so you guys can have a little information on what's going on. And here the brother goes.
I'll finish this lecture. Y'all enjoy. The standard of review according to Sharia law and the history of the Sharif. Because what everybody don't realize, all of the police shootings, the police ain't even supposed to be here. The police is a European thing. They're supposed to be over there. There ain't supposed to be no police over here. This is supposed to be marshals
and sheriffs
and Sharif.
We call sheriffs.
The marshals is supposed to be what they call your Federal Bureau of Investigation. That's supposed to be your U.S. Marshal. And your local policing duties is not policing. Actually, it's the guardians of the righteous, with your 6-point star carrying Sharif. And that's why you see the sheriff's department wearing the 6-point star, and the police department is wearing the 5-point star. That's the major difference, because they don't belong here. They over here to enforce the barristers' shuffled paperwork. That's why you hear the Moors keep calling them policy enforcers. They're paramilitary enforcement agency for the Barristers Association. And that's why they have to read you what they call your rights. They can't read you your rights unless you are incompetent. That's how they know that you are a subject to their jurisdiction, because they have to read you your rights because you're incompetent. In law, that makes you become an imbecile. So now you become a ward to their paperwork. So now they put you become a hard drive, because all of the information in your DNA becomes information that they can use. So you become like a little thumb drive when you stepped into the bar. They tell you in the Declaration of Independence, yesterday did a video, and I told her it was in the preamble of the Constitution, but it's actually in the Declaration of Independence, where it says that man being endowed with certain inalienable rights. An inalienable right is endowed to you by your creator. There's nothing that they can do to undermine that once you become aware that they have a jurisdiction over the person. They only have subject matter jurisdiction, and the jurisdiction of the person, that's why they call it habeas corpus, the great writ. It's the most powerful document, because the jurisdiction over the person, if you become 5/5 realized, that means that you fully understand who and what you are. Now you 5/5 realize you're a whole functioning God body. That's why they talked about black people being 3/5. It's funny that you say USB, because in the all you got to do is add an N, and then you have the unsub, which is a common term used in CSI, the unsub, the unknown subject. That's us. Now we about to be known. So after the judgment, all of the sons of the righteousness accepted their responsibility to pay their penance. So that's why in the book of Enoch, you hear him talking about, let us make this agreement. They made that agreement when they went in to clean up the genetics. And then they say, and the sons of God came into the daughters of men. They said they was producing an abomination. They were, but they had their orders. They was following orders. And so once they followed the orders, they were penalized for it in the sacred halls of judgment. And in the judgment halls, everybody blamed it on one person that didn't have nothing to do with it, but he didn't say nothing. So they reenact that story as your Christ crucifixion story that they built Christianity around, and used it for justification for Constantine to sack the Catholic priestesses, the noon priestesses, and to put that impostor on her seat, the seat of the Black Madonna. Okay, so when we start becoming conscious, we start waking each other up, whether we know it or not. Everything we do is like passing information and energy back and forth to wake each other up from the slumber. And the only fear is that the prime don't wake up.
So let me pause there for a moment, because the ritual we did on Stone Mountain a couple of weeks ago, that means that would wake a whole bunch of people up. We had about 200 people on Stone Mountain, as you see my video post before. So that ritual we did on Stone Mountain, that means it'll wake a whole bunch of people up. All right, folks, keep it moving.
First, or don't become aware first of the totality of what's going on. And that's already taken care of. So for y'all to know how to assist in waking us all the way up, don't participate in divisive tactics. We fighting divide and conquer. And everything that we think we see is not what we see. We see what they want us to see according to how they told us to look at it.
True.
They told us to look at it in a certain way in order to sustain the divide and conquer system. The system doesn't work when we become aware of how they use it. I'm telling you how they use it. Don't get into the racism, the sexism, none of that. The whole gay agenda was to make people become so judgmental and critical of the homosexuals that it becomes obscene to the presence of the gods. Because judgment is reserved for the gods. And man is not supposed to cast judgment. And that's why all law is commercial, because they can't judge you. Only the Christ, only the Son of Man can judge you. You know, the Son of Man is more like the prosecuting attorney or the defense attorney, depending on how he's sent. And the actual judge is the Christ, when the Christ is no man. The Christ is a woman. Y'all got to understand that too. if you go back into the hieroglyphics, it shows you the crowning ceremony of every pharaoh as they were crowned. Pay attention to who's placing the crown. There's never a man crowning a man, because they were all matriarchal. That's why Elijah Muhammad said, no nation can rise higher than its women. There's a couple of key positions need to be replaced. The Black Madonna already has been selected. And she said she's willing to do whatever the Lord wanted her to do to clean this mess up. She said she lived her days, so she ain't got nothing to lose. So the whole thing now is contingent upon us. Whether we agree with him or not, all we have to agree with is one thing. We want to be free from the oppression, and we want to walk among the ranks of the righteous. If we agree on that, we can keep our same doctrines and our same way of thinking. All you got to do is don't want to be oppressed and want to be among the ranks of the righteous, and then you will start getting these "We Are Farrakhan" slogans and in your support, because he already been judged. He passed. Just so y'all know, he didn't been judged and he passed the test. So he become the standard of review. So what he gonna end up doing now? This is what it's supposed to. What's supposed to happen is supposed to be preparing the people to understand what the judgment look like, right? Then there's a couple things that they have to do. The imam of Mas Mariama will have to bring in a Sharia sheikh to explain how a standard of review is used in Sharia law. Because when you use Sharia law, if you're coming from before the oppression, the Sharif became the sheriffs. They supposed to work for us at our command, but they're not going to do it until they realize they rose according to the history of the Sharif. When they know what, because they all of them, the sheriff can deputize a person on a moment's notice. We all can be deputized to enforce justice. But the Sharif got to know that they not part of this system. They ours. They under our jurisdiction. They not under their jurisdiction. They not under the jurisdiction of the corporate United States, the imposters that sit in D.C. See, the reason they moved to D.C. is they wanted to do blood rights on top of the city that was designed by Amor being Banneker, designed D.C. it's all African conjure. And the goal was to, that one they call him the Son of Man in your Bible, and they call him the Mahdi in Islam. This is all to stir the rise of that over here. And they thought that by doing those satanic blood rites over in D.C., on top of where being Banneker has set the sigils of creation, that they would be able to keep it from happening. Only thing they did was made it happen in a different manner. Because the blood and the rights was being used by the enemy, we was using the enemy. We had to have a dog in every fight. And I keep bringing that up because we got to understand we not helpless, and we got control. We have the power, but we're not using it if we don't use it correctly. It's just like having a 9-volt battery trying to start a car that take 250,000 volts to start. It's just gonna overpower the battery and ain't gonna make it click. And so the waking of the black guys, which they call the resurrection, and they call it the Enlightenment age, the age of the return, the Kali Yuga concludes. And all of that stuff this is the time frame according to the stellar map that match up to the biblical reference. According to the breakdown of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth,
sign up as an Expedia member.
the Wisdom of Solomon, Forgotten Gods Waking Up, in the Book of Enoch. This is telling us that this is the time. So when you follow the map, so the imam going to have a sheikh explain Sharia law and what does it mean to have a frame of reference? Because when you have a judgment, you got to have something to compare it to, right? So that's why somebody had to go first. Farrakhan went first. He passed. Now, all them people that have been calling him hate mongers and everything, they had to answer for that. Because he already been declared righteous in heaven, now they have to answer for that here on earth before the Son of Man. They have to prove it. Publicly and openly, they have to prove it. And so, this is the meaning of the We Are Farrakhan. Because he been judged already and he passed. He went first. He went first. And that's what he had to do his confession at Savior's Day. He did. He passed. He did it all is exactly what he said. So they have to, the nation ministers have to know what was the obstacle, what took so long, because we could have been doing this years ago. Well, the obstacle was Khalid Muhammad and Malcolm X. He passed. Malcolm cleared him himself. Malcolm said he didn't have enough juice to call enough shots to have anything to do with it. He said he wasn't his rank wasn't high enough. He said he was hand selected by himself and a messenger for his position to carry the torch. That's what Malcolm said. But I can't go into the whole thing because I got to give it to the nation ministers because they have to know how he passed. He passed. I mean, I can't say it no more than that. The judgment day is here. Farrakhan went first. Farrakhan passed. You know what happened when T.D. Jakes went? Because he went like third. They blew something up to tell him to straighten that wobble up in his character. They didn't want to hurt him because he ain't that far from being righteous. He just got a little wobble he need to straighten up. The elders say he know what it is. So they sent him a message. Farrakhan gonna tell him. Because he probably already know. And they say Creflo Dollar gonna have to get a job. And he's not gonna be able to stand in the church. Because he greedy. He gonna have to earn it by the sweat of his brow. That's what the elders said about Creflo Dollar. And they said all of the Christian ministers need to go to, I keep forgetting this guy's name, it's Geno Jennings, so they can learn how to be a righteous Christian. I don't know none of them people. All I know is Judgment Day here, and this is what the elders is saying. And so the guy's waking up. The guy's waking up. And whatever you are is what you always were, and whatever you were, you always are. You can redeem others through self-sacrifice. And you can redeem yourself by the redemption of others. They keep spray painting your skies and feeding y'all fallacies. If y'all get your own daylight telescopes, y'all might be able to see through the chemtrails enough to see that there's a parking lot out there. It's a whole parking lot.
Interesting.
And T.D. Jakes not a joke. He got a wobble. The elders say he got a wobble. I mean, is it something that he can fix that he hasn't fixed yet that he know that he should fix? I think is that he speak too presumptuous myself, but I'm not sure. He know what it is. As for Creflo, he got to work. He got to go out and get a job. He got to work his way back up from the very bottom. He got to earn it. And so, in this process where we wake up and we want to wake each other up, we support that one that's been already declared righteous. It automatically make us start saying, hey, yeah, there we go. Now I got it. Now, because if we don't participate in divide and conquer, we start to connect on the spiritual level. Now, Buju Banton had a song called Hills and Valley. And it say through this mystical communication.
I just played that song on YouTube, Hills and Valleys, and it's very, very deep. Check it out. It's called Hills and Valley by Buju Banton. It's a very, very deep song. Keep it going.
We keep on coming together. I love it to see. What it say? I forget how I go. I don't want to butcher the man's song.
I'll put a clip in here.
Buju Banton, Hills and Valleys. You understand we got a connection that's deep. And the only way that we can make it work is what we gotta call it. It's called, in the law of success, it's called the mastermind group. But we don't all have to be in one room to use it. We just have to agree on one thing. And all of our talents will be geared to what we can do to manifest the creation of that one thing that we agree on. And that's the only thing that we want to agree on right now is liberation and righteousness.
True that.
So somebody that already been judged becomes like our the pendulum that the hypnotist used to put you to sleep. Well, he become the reverse pendulum. He become the focal point to wake us up. So when we understand frame of reference according to American jurisprudence and according to Sharia law, and then we unravel that we are unalienable rights, what do that mean? You got to be 5/5 realized. And nobody has any respect for you if you are only 3/5 realized. Because the capabilities of a 5/5 realized God is so dramatic that a 3/5 unrealized is foolish. It's closer to being a beast. And that's why they always talk about in the resurrection, he raised himself from a beast. Now, I got a download picture on here I need to show y'all because y'all understand everything that they telling us in the last few years from the Marvel and DC comics and all that has been based upon something that got to do with us. And so I got a picture on here because this is the last totem. The last totem should be set in the land of Kim. Now, how would you know what would be the last totem? If you look over the entire world, the only major mammal that's not in hieroglyphics is the gorilla. But he is in there once. There's a stela showing you who he is. And this goes back to your movie Panther, because Panther is set in place to guard, Bats is set in place to guard Heru. So she's the guardian. Heru is a warrior already, but while he's an undeveloped child, having come into his own, she has to protect him. So now you see why that Black Panther party was so necessary at the closing of the age, because they had to protect the path in order for the gorilla, what they showed you, he didn't want to rule. He don't want to rule. So he tried to leave it to the Panther. So in the movie, they had a Panther walking away ruling, but they never showing you he went back home. So that means that he became only a provincial leader. He didn't end up leading everything. He became the leader of where he was originally started at. And that being South Central LA. Yes, Hanuman. And so in the Egyptian hieroglyph, there is a picture that shows Thoth on one side, Heru and Aset on the other side of this gentleman, and above his head you will see a gorilla. As soon as I find my download button right here. Nope, it's not it. So, while I'm looking for that, the thing to know about it is sooner or later, we gonna wake up to who we all are. And once we wake up to who we all are and start recognizing who and where we came from, we're gonna have abilities, right? And they call them X-Men powers in TV. Then they show you the X-Men with all these, but listen to the series that came out in the 80s, because the George Bush faction, which we was warned about it by George Orwell in 1984.
1984, I got that book.
Right. In
I got it.
1984, George Orwell said,
Book is deep too.
you know, he gave us the book 1984 that showed us the
Yep.
takeover.
Yep.
The Solar Monkey.
Got that book.
Now, I'm going to do my camera flip here as soon as I get this one flip. All right, so.
Okay, I'm gonna put the clip of Buju Banton. Hang on, folks. Small clip of the song. It's a small clip. Buju Banton. Small clip. Do not own the copyright to the music. Do not own the copyright to the music. Hopefully you got it there, folks. That's the name of the song by Buju Banton. Hills and Valleys. That's the lyrics. Check it out on YouTube. Okay, folks. Until then, folks, hope you enjoyed the video. Love you guys. Peace out. One love.